the main obstacle to implementing critical chain in construction and capital projects is how we contract and purchase. These are the main obstacles. Because critical chain only works in a collaborative project team. It's a collaborative environment. That's what it needs. And most construction and capital projects do not put in place single teams. The contracts are inherently win-lose. If something goes wrong, the contracts require somebody to be at fault and somebody to take the financial impact. The whole idea of fixed prices for something that is indeterminate. Nobody knows what's going to happen to the steel markets, how much steel, what ideas are going to come up, who I'm going to be working against. So in reality, nobody can know exactly how much something's going to cost or how long it's going to take. But we insist on deadlines and fixed prices. That by itself adds to the budgeted cost of a project and the budgeted duration. And then we manage it in a way that makes all that safety wasted and disappeared, so it's not even a reliable way. We don't even get the convenience of good projects on time by offloading risk and fixing prices. It just costs us more. And if anything, it adds to the risk, doesn't reduce the risk. That's my opinion. Now, critical chain requires the opposite. It needs a collaborative project team. This whole idea of a shared safety buffer, it means your contractors don't know who's going to need it when they start on the project. And since a lot of their costs come with the amount of time they take, they don't know how much it will cost them either. So sharing the time buffer means also sharing the costing arrangements. Critical chain has a philosophy known as relay runner, which means you run as fast on your bit until you can pass the baton to the next contractor in the chain, and they run to the next section. That is not how most projects run. There's a fixed deadline. Now, if you're going to be looking at the progress of the previous contractor and adapting your start date, with traditional contracts, you'd be issuing variation orders all the time. Oh, I'm now starting 2 days earlier. I'm now starting a day later. Wouldn't be worth it. But that's what we need to adapt and shift to. My view is that the currently most common procurement and contracting methods just don't let you doing that. Whilst the client understands I want this project to run as fast as possible, but I'm going to put you in chains and to stop you running very quickly. Yeah, it just makes no sense. Now, of course, people in chain can run and they can have a race. So putting all your contractors in chains and making them run slowly, you can still have a competitive bid. You'll still get one of them who can run slightly faster than the other. But if you really want them to break world records, you have to cut the chains and get rid of them. And that comes to the second area, moving away from fixed prices, independent suppliers doing just their bit. No, we're talking about performance-related fees. We're talking about aligned incentives across the supply chain. We're talking about risk and uncertainty managed at the project level, not pushed down the work breakdown structure. Single team, same measures. Now, I mentioned fixed prices in passing. Fixed prices are great if I'm going shopping in the supermarket or if I'm buying some technology. But for something complicated, uncertain, like $100 million, €100 million investment in a new factory that I actually want as quick as possible, to me it makes no sense. It adds time to your project, it takes longer to assess. Most people working in the industry know that the bid price of a contractor is very rarely the outturn price of the project, but we use this bid price to select them. Lots and lots of strange, conflicting behaviours. But one of the worst is that sort of conflicting adversarial environment, it's almost impossible to make critical chain work. So, here's some research in the construction industry. There's lots of research on why collaborative supply relationships make for better results. These, like critical chain, like the approach to collaborative contracting I'm going to talk about, are over 20 years ago, 20 years old. The University of Texas researched about 100 or so construction projects in the US and discovered those that collaborate had more satisfied clients, more profitable contractors, whilst at the same time the cost went down. Well, cost goes down, suppliers make more profit. Yes, it's possible. And it's faster. And it's safer. And it's got better quality. Now, I've seen no evidence that collaboration, when done well, adds to cost, adds to time, reduces quality. I've seen plenty of supportive collaborative evidence that it does the opposite. So as I was talking to Philippe Maris earlier on this afternoon, I just don't understand why the industry hasn't taken hold of these ideas and implemented them, but it hasn't, which is why we wrote the book, because we found very few people even knew about them. We were just overcoming that hurdle. So we're going to look at an approach to project contracting known as a project alliance. Now, at a simple level, the traditional project, the client contracted with a major contractor to do the whole job, who brought in subcontractors who would often subcontract. A hierarchical chain of command with a desire to try and put fixed prices into this chain. A project alliance looks somewhat different. It puts together a project team very early on amongst the main contractors, representing 80, 85, 90% of the work that needs to be done. People who've sufficiently large to have some skin in the game, to have a strong influence over the success of the project. And they come together in a single contract. No one of them is the boss of the other one. They're all peers, whatever the size. They're all in the same team, in the same way that the goalkeeper, the defenders, the midfielders, the strikers in a football team, they're in one team. Now, they might have different salaries, different jobs, but they've got a single goal: win this football game. This team has a single goal: make the project successful as defined by the client. In this model, it's quite easy for the client to be happy, these to be happy, these to make a loss, and these to make a loss. In the project alliance model, this team is either all happy together or all very sad together. There's no mechanism for one to financially win whilst the others can't. And that financial model is summarised on the next page. Without going into a great deal of detail, under an alliance project, all those companies that are members of the alliance are paid in exactly the same way. I call it cost fixed variable, as the three elements of the fee they get. The biggest one is the money they've spent. If they spend some money, they get reimbursed. No markup, no 5.6% added to it. If it's the salary of full-time staff, it's exactly their salary. If it's an invoice from a supplier or a subcontractor, it's exactly the invoice. The project costs what it'll cost. The two elements that are of more interest to the alliance partners are a fixed and a variable fee. The fixed fee can be zero, but it's fixed in euros or dollars or pounds at the beginning. It's not a percentage of this. So having more cost go through your books does not affect how much money you're paid. There is no need to fight over turnover. In fact, if you want to impress your boss with a good percentage return, you actually want less turnover, not more, in percentage terms. The idea is that once the project has started, the only mechanism to make more money for the supply partners is the variable fee, and that is fully linked to the success of the project. It's for the client to decide whether that success is how much it costs, when it starts, how long a certain period lasts, what the quality is, whether the customers are happy, how safe it is. The first project alliance I did, 30% of my company's income and my partner, the other supply partners, 30% was how we managed safety on a chemical industry construction project. We also had measures for how much it cost, how long it took, how long their plant was shut down, and they actually had a certain amount which was the behaviours of the project team, and a very simple scale. If we behaved like a particular an average contractor, we got this much. If we behaved like bad contractors, we got this much. And if the project team behaved as the client staff did, we got more. No? Very simple. They do take some working out, but as soon as the project's underway, this is fixed. Can't do anything about it. This is just money straight through the company. So this is what I focus on as a project manager. And we're all in it together. So what that means is the structural and the groundwork contractor might have different amounts of target. One might have 200,000, another 100,000, but it either goes down to zero together or it goes up together. And it really changes individuals' behaviours, aligned incentives. And it's almost as simple as that. But it's simple in concept, not easy in practice, because it's totally different to how people have worked for the past 50, 60 years. How they've been trained, how they've been rewarded. Many people can do it. They feel released. Many people find it very difficult. So we do have to be careful about the teams we choose, the individuals we put on a project. But these are the sorts of differences. We select based on skill and competence now, not based on a number, not based on a fixed price bid. You've got to be comfortable sharing risk with other companies, other suppliers and the client. No, you're in the same boat. You're all in this together. Who caused what to happen doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether the goalie kept his legs open or the defender missed a tackle or the forward gave a bad pass that was intercepted. If a goal's been scored, a goal's been scored. And then you just start again. It doesn't matter who's done what. That's the whole mindset. For the client, it comes with the consequence that you can no longer dictate. Your supply chain's got skin in the game. That means they've got a right to have a voice. And you need to move to consensus decision making, not client dictate. So it's not for everybody. But if you can marshal that, if you can get in the same boat. This is a cartoon from over 20 years ago when I was involved in project alliances, but it summarised the idea to me. These are people who worked on traditional projects. Now I'm glad the hole is at their end. Now you're going to drown. And that's the whole spirit of a project alliance, putting things together. By the way, a project alliance can still be competitively bid. It's not about herding your mates into the room and cuddling them and saying, I know this guy, he's a good mate of mine. Things will work perfectly. No. You can still get competition, but based on skill, not a fixed price lump sum that everybody knows has been made up, and the project won't cost that much. And in the public sector as well as the private sector. It's not something that the public sector procurement rules will prevent. It does need some thinking because it's not the norm. So there's the summary. Here's the end of what I've been talking about. But if we can do it, we believe a faster, lower cost, better project can deliver that famous win-win. The client gets significantly higher return on investment. Their investment is lower and they get a working asset much sooner. The supplier can make more profit at lower cost. No longer do they have to increase their turnover to make more profit. And the drivers for that, collaborative selection and contracting and the use of a project alliance. Then you make sure your team works collaboratively. Then you use critical chain project management to plan and manage your project. That's our recipe. You can read about it more in the book. I look forward to hearing your tales of how it goes.